according to the New York Post, a few weeks ago, there were these 4 people, 2 men and 2 women in their 30s and 40s, who were charged with hiding chopped up pieces of 2 bodies and scattering them around Long Island. Now, call me crazy, but if these individuals are chopping up and hiding and dispersing body parts, it's probably also likely that those people allegedly murdered those 2 individuals. But remarkably, they have not been charged with murder. And the thing that they have been charged for, which is, mutilating and disposing a murdered person's corpse, they don't have to be held on bail for in the state of New York. So these 4 people had, ready for this, quote, body parts, meat cleavers, butcher knives, and a significant amount of blood in their home. So I mentioned 3 of them were roommates. There was so much blood and mutilation and hacking devices in their homes that they tried to discard of, that their toilets, sinks, and showers stopped working because they were clogged with all of the blood in the flesh, okay? So basically the point is these people are sick criminals beyond belief. They dispersed these body parts of these 2 people, 1 man, 1 woman, and they were discovered by a little girl walking to school with her friends on Long Island. This little girl just happened upon a severed arm just hanging out in the middle of where she was walking, and she reported it to police, and then they found all of these other scattered body parts. Welcome to Joe Biden's America, everybody. Welcome to the left's America. Your little girl walking to school, you don't know what she could encounter. A homeless person could start hacking away at her. She could find a dismembered arm. You just, who knows?
This is a good reason not to help the homeless. Be careful. And I think it's pronounced Long Island. They run it together.
Sometimes I really wonder.
Long Island.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What was the other
Please,
one?
no, continue with the toilets and the sinks stopped up with blood, please.
Yeah, it's so nice, right? Okay, so here's the kicker. Haven't been charged with murder yet. Crazy. They have been charged with, quote, according to the New York Post, hindering prosecution, concealment of a human corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. But none have been accused of murder, according to the Suffolk police. Okay? Oh my God. Wow. So that's, whammy number 1. The double whammy is that the things that they have been, charged with, that is concealment of a human corpse and mutilating a body, are not bail eligible under New York cash bail reform laws. So these individuals have all pled not guilty, and they have been released with ankle monitors. So they're out. Meanwhile, by the way, 6 pro-lifers have been charged with 10.5 years. I repeat, 10.5 years in prison for nonviolently trespassing on an abortion clinic to, sing hymns, recite prayers, and urge people not to kill a child. They're getting 10.5 years, but the chopped up body parts people, ankle bracelets, they're out, not even charged with murder, okay? So there's that in Long Island. Let's go over to Worcester, Massachusetts, where, by the way, my mother is from. I have been to Worcester many times. It is the second most visited place that I have been to see my grandparents, my cousins, outside of here in Los Angeles. So,
your mother's from Worcester?
No. Oh, God, if she's watching, she's going to hate you.
Worcester?
She hates when people say that.
The only reason I jumped in is because my mother's from Long Island.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is strange.
This is very strange.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's look at Worcester. So about a week ago, there was a mother and an 11-year-old daughter in the passenger or the driver's seat and the passenger seat, respectively, of a car parked in Worcester. I know exactly where the street is. I know exactly where this happened, not far away from where my mother grew up. And they were in broad daylight, the beginning of this month, shot to death multiple times at 3 p.m. in the afternoon by these two men, 27-year-old and 28-year-old. Great, right? So one of them, the 28-year-old, has been arrested, but the other one, a 27-year-old, is still out on the loose. And because we live in crazy left-wing America, let's look at the news story and how they described this individual who is literally like being hunted for right now. There is a manhunt with a $5,000 reward. I checked just about 2 minutes before I went live. They have not found him yet. It's been over a week. But let's look at how 10 Boston, the news agency, reported this. They said, quote, police said he should be considered armed and dangerous. He is described as being about 5'11" tall and 160 pounds. He's wanted on charges of armed assault with intent to murder and possession of a firearm without license. So they describe him as being 5'11" and 160 pounds. Do you notice anything about that description? Do you notice either something that's present or something that is missing?
I do.
You do?
I saw the picture on the screen.
Yeah.
He's black.
Right. Do you think that's a relevant detail if you're trying to find someone? You're manhunting?
No, I go strictly by height.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Got it. Left-wing America, everybody. Okay? Oh, also, just, another point on this story about left-wing America. It's not the first time that these two individuals have been, engaged in some less than noble activity, but somehow they're allowed back out on the streets. This is reading from Boston 10, and they are citing the Worcester Telegram and Gazette that these two individuals have, quote, spent time in jail and have links to gangs. Mangual, who is the one who was arrested, was sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison following a shooting in 2014. He also has open cases for assault and battery on a police officer and drug possession. The other one, Belnavis, who is out on the loose, but we can't say his race as we're looking for him, right? Terrible to say his race. Well, let's look at what he's done. He, quote, has a lengthy criminal record. He's faced charges that include strangulation, resisting arrest, breaking and entering, and assault with a dangerous weapon. But they're allowed back out on the street to murder this mother and her 11-year-old daughter in broad daylight in Worcester, Massachusetts, okay? Let me tell you a third thing. This is all just in the past 2 weeks. More examples of crazy left-wing America. How about what happened on the New York City subway? Things have gotten so bad in Manhattan that the governor, Kathy Hochul of the state of New York, has ordered 750 National Guard members, 250 New York State police, as well as many MTA officers to the subway stations to patrol and do bag checks. They are doing bag checks covering about a third of the subway system because people have been assaulted. They have had their possessions stolen. There have been people pushed in front of the subway station. My friend was about to get on the subway and it was blocked off because someone at his stop was pushed onto the tracks. Just a lot of great stuff going on, in these Democrat-run states and cities. The New York Police Department Chief of Patrol gave a quote to the New York Post about this. And he said, quote, what we really want judges to do is take really bad recidivists, i.e. people who commit crimes multiple times, off the street after we do our job. The DA does their job and the judges do their job. That's what we want. You take care of those recidivists and crime will plummet in the city and the city will prosper. Yeah, arrest the bad guys. Put the bad guys in jail when they do bad things, and maybe you won't be seeing people getting hacked and their body parts being dispersed. You probably won't see, people who have been arrested for strangulation going out and killing a mother and a daughter, and you probably won't have the need to deploy nearly 1,000 members of the National Guard just to keep public transit from being a murderous underground mental asylum. But as we talked about, Shanzi, at the beginning of the show, there are no limits, right, that the left can go to. They can do the craziest stuff. Their cities can fall apart You can have a girl walking to school with an arm, a severed arm right in front of her, and those perpetrators are out released. They can do all of that, and people still vote Democrat. And crucially, our American elite in this country don't view it at all as an indictment on the left. But then Senator Katie Britt got a detail wrong in her rebuttal, which she should not have gotten wrong, but she got a detail wrong, and it's a whole referendum on conservatism. By the way, there's a clip I have, if we can play it. Jimmy Kimmel, hosting the Oscars last night, of course, took a swipe at her.
Emma played an adult woman with the brain of a child, like the lady who gave the rebuttal to the State of the Union on Thursday night.
So Joe Biden can give the worst State of the Union known to man and God. Nothing, right? No problem. But then Katie Britt gets one detail wrong, and everyone is, cackling like she's the one with the brain of a child. So this whole idea fascinates me. It's like, how is this the case? That the left can be so irrational, irresponsible, and destructive. And it's not an indictment on them to many Americans. But then if the right does one thing wrong, the entirety of conservatism is defunct. Why is that?
I'm trying to answer your question from earlier about how we got to this point. Priests in the Catholic Church, there were some awful scandals with priests and molestation and stuff, right? So that the whole church got written off because of some bad priests. There's all this kind of stuff where if it happens on the right, like if a religious man has an affair, therefore religion is bad.
Yes.
Right? But not the individual.
What you just said really put a light bulb in my head where you said, if a religious man has an affair, it's an indictment on all of religion and all of religious people, right? And this is my point, that the left can do all this crazy stuff. It's not an indictment on them. People on the right do one thing wrong. It's a referendum on the whole system. You know what it is? This is the cost of having principles. Because on the right, when you have principles, or in religion, when you are religious, you abide by certain principles, and if you don't live up to them, it is seen as a referendum on your whole system. But on the left, most of them are not guided by principles, so they can be intensely hypocritical, and it's not judged the same way because it's not judged against the principles that they are trying to live up to. The left, not liberals, but leftists in general, are not guided by principles. They're not. You can see how hypocritical. You can see, support, defend women, but there's no such thing as a woman. America's systemically racist, but non-white immigrants should come here. Me too, me too, me too. But when Israeli women are raped by Hamas, they don't care. They are not a conglomerate of principles. So that's why they can be intensely hypocritical, because no one is judging them against the principles that they have staked their claim to. Whereas on the right, when people come up short, you can very easily go, well, you're not the person you say you are because all you do is espouse principles and yet you're not living up to them.